Human rights are universally inherent to every human being without any exception. For the well-being of any society, protection of human rights is fundamental. They are a set of 30 indivisible, interdependent and interrelated entitlements declared by the United Nations in 1948. Businesses are an integral part of a society. They coexist in our ecosystem, utilizing natural resources and interacting with the ordinary citizen in several forms such as consumer, supplier, shareholder, and employee. Their actions can result into both positive and negative impacts on the rights of the people. Due to such universal occurrences impacting human rights, early discussions on business and human rights began in the year 2000. And in 2011, UN endorsed for the first time United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, UNGP. These guidelines were specifically focused on the human rights behavior of a business entity. It was achieved after 6 years of consultations with different stakeholders across the world. The 31 principles under UNGP can be easily understood by looking at its 3 key pillars: protect, respect, and remedy. Protect. It is the duty of the state to protect everyone within its territory from human rights infringement by any business enterprise. There must be effective laws in place to prevent, investigate, and penalize such occurrences. In case of any violation, the state must ensure that the victim can easily access the required remedy. Respect. It is the responsibility of the businesses to respect human rights of all their stakeholders such as employees, customers, and communities wherever they operate. The business must have policies in place that shows that they respect human rights in all its dealings. In case of any violation, they must cooperate with the victim in finding the right remedy. Remedy. The state as well as the businesses should ensure the access to effective remedy for anyone whose human rights is violated in any business operation. There have to be procedures in place through which the state can hear the grievances while the businesses can address them. For businesses, it's very important to understand Pillar 2 as it connects directly with them. Every business, whether small or large, private or public, falls under this guideline. The action a business may take to respect human rights will vary as per its scale and complexity. Business enterprises should carry out their operations in such a way that they do not invade anyone's human rights, and in case of any breach, they should address the impact with which they are involved. The human rights are the ones mentioned in the International Bill of Human Rights and the International Labour Organization Declaration. To implement Pillar 2 effectively, businesses must have in place a policy commitment towards this responsibility approved at the senior-most level, a human rights due diligence process to identify, prevent, mitigate, and account for how they address their impacts on human rights, processes to enable the remediation of any adverse human rights impacts businesses have caused or contributed to. India was among the first few countries to endorse the UNGPs. In fact, India has been pursuing the responsible business agenda for over a decade now. In 2009, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs released the first set of voluntary guidelines on corporate governance to mainstream the idea of responsible business. And in 2011, the ministry released National Voluntary Guidelines on Corporate Governance called NVGs. As the subject matured over the years, a more comprehensive guideline titled NGRBC 2019 was developed through a robust consultative process. The NGRBC guidelines goes a step further, requiring businesses to not only respect human rights but also promote them. Principle 5 of NGRBC, which is dedicated to business and human rights, states, businesses must make their employees aware about their human rights. There must be policies in place which demonstrate respect for human rights. In case of any human right violation, there must be redressal mechanism to provide effective grievance to the affected individual or group. Businesses should be very careful towards the vulnerable of such adverse impacts. In the post-COVID world, business-related human rights will play a much significant role. Businesses will be expected to take care of the rights of the individuals in all its dealings. There is a clear writing on the wall that to keep growing and progressing, every business entity must adhere to the guidelines defined by the UNGP and NGRBC. The clock starts now.